Hi, hello guys. So, pag-uusapan naman natin yung reproduction in plants. Pag-uusapan naman natin ang reproduction in plants. Okay, so these are the milks. Describe the reproductive parts in plants and their functions. Okay, these are the objectives. Identify the parts of a flower. Describe the process of pollination, fertilization, fruit and seed dispersal, and pollination. Okay, draw and label the part of a flower. Share with how to flowering plants reproduce. Paano ba? Ikaw, share mo naman kung paano mag-reproduce ang mga flowering plants. So, we have sexual reproduction in plants. May two ways din po. It's either sexual reproduction or asexual. Pero unahin muna natin ang sexual reproduction in plants. So, these are flowering plants. Almost 90% of the species in the plant kingdom are flowering plants. Botanists label flowering plants as angiosperms. And angiosperms, unlike gymnosperms, non-flowering plants, have seeds that are enclosed in a container or case called ovary. These plants produce flowers. So yung angiosperms po, ito po yung flowering plants. Ito po yung gumagamit ng sexual reproduction. Ang gymnosperms po, these are non-flowering plants. Hindi nila kailangan ng seed para mag-reproduce. Okay, the flowers are the most distinctive features of this group. So flowers are the reproductive structure of plants. Kung sa human, we have male and female reproductive parts. So sa halaman, sa animals, ganun din. Diba? So sa plants naman or trees, ang kanilang reproductive structures ay flowers. Okay? Their most important functions are to ensure fertilization of the egg cell within the ovule and the help in the development of the ovary into fruit that contains the seed. Okay, we have parts of a flower. A flower is composed of the following parts: the corolla, the calyx, stamen, pistil, receptacle, and peduncle. Okay, ito po yung parts of a flower. Post nyo na lang po itong video. Okay, first is corolla. So it comprises the petals of flower. They come in various shapes and sizes. They function for protection and attraction. Okay, they contain nectarines that give them their characteristic scent. Their bright colors and scent attract of pollination. This is corolla or yung petal. So ba ito yung nag-a-attract sa mga bees or sa mga tao, sa mga organism, yung petals po nila. Next is calyx. It comprises the sepals of the flower. And the sepals are typically green. Sepal protect the flower when it is still a bud and contributes to the process of photosynthesis of the plant. And the petals and sepals form the floral envelope of a flower. Ito po yung calyx or yung commonly known as sepals. Ito yung petals po at saka yung sepals, ito po kasi yung protective part or covering part ng ating pinaka main organ. Okay? Nasa loob po yung pinaka main organ ng reproductive organ ng flower. Next is receptacle and peduncle. The receptacle supports the entire flower. The peduncle or stalk connects the flower to the branch or stem. Collectively, these parts comprise the accessory parts that protect and support the essential parts. So this is sepal, this is receptacle and peduncle. Yung tangkay, yung peduncle, receptacle, yung sa pinakadulo nagko-connect siya dito sa sepal at saka doon sa petal. Diba? Sila yung nagpo-protect or nagko-connect doon sa or nagsusupport sa entire flower. Next is stamen and pistil. The stamen and the pistil is also called carpel, comprise the essential parts. Ito na yung pinaka-essential parts ng flower. They are the reproductive organs of a flower. So, hindi siya katulad ng male and female reproductive part. Ito, magkasama na. Kumbaga, nandito na yung male reproductive part at female reproductive part. Okay? Male reproductive part and female reproductive part. Ito po yung stamen and ito po yung pistil. Stamen is the male reproductive part. Pistil is the female reproductive part. Okay. So yung stamen po, it composed of anther, the filament, yung ating pistil, which is the female reproductive part, is composed of stigma, style, ovary, and ovule. So first is pistil. The pistil is the female reproductive structure. It is made up of three parts. We have the stigma, the style, and the ovary. So yung ovary, ito po yung place kung saan na-produce po yung ovule, yung egg cell ng flower. Okay, we have three parts of pistil. We have stigma, the swollen tip of the pistil, or a sticky substance covers these parts so that the pollen grains can adhere to it. Style is the long, slender tube that connect the stigma and function as a conveyor for the pollen tube. And ovary is the enlarged basal portion of the pistil that houses the ovule. Okay, ito po yung stigma. May sticky substance po siya. Now, once na dumikit po yung pollen grain, titikit siya and yung pollen grain na may nagko-contain ng sperm, papasok po siya, dadali po, magta-travel po siya papuntang style, papasok dito sa ovary at mag-unite yung sperm and ovule or yung egg cell at magkakaroon ng fertilization. So, next is the stamen. Stamen is the male reproductive structure. It is composed of two parts. We have anther and filament. Okay, two parts of stamen. Anther is a expanded and lobular structure at the tip of the filament. It is a pollen-producing organ of the flower. Filament is the stalk that holds the anther. So, ito po yung anther, yung kulay yellow na yan. Yung yellow na po yan, may pollen green po yan na naka-attach po dyan. At yung filament, siya yung nagko-connect or nagkikarry noong anther. So, once na yung anther nag-spread ng pollen grains yan, so sasama yan sa air or any kind of way para mag-pollinate sila yung mga flowers. So once na na-reach ng pollen grain yung stigma, didikit po yung pollen grain. At yung pollen grain na yan, magre-release po yun ng sperm. At papasok po dito sa style hanggang ma-fertilize yung ovule. So pollination and fertilization in flowering plants. So alam na po natin yung reproductive parts ng flower. So paano siya nagpo-pollinate or pollination? How pollination occur? So first, pollination occurs when the pollen grain of one flower reaches the stigma of one of another flower. So, flower to flower po siya, hindi po siya yung sarili niya. Okay? So, kaya nga may tawag tayong pollination. Okay? Pero meron din, wait lang, patay. Stop ko lang muna to. Wait lang ng konti. Wait lang. Stop lang natin ang recording. Oh, oh. Sige nga, pause ko na lang. Sorry po, medyo natagalan ako. Sorry guys, medyo natagalan ako dahil nagtapon pa ako ng basura. So, balik po tayo. So, pollination occurs when the pollen grain of one flower reaches the stigma of another flower. Okay, the sperm cells from the pollen grain are released on the stigma. The pollen grain grows a pollen tube downward until it reaches an ovule and releases two sperms. One sperm fertilizes an egg cell, and the second sperm fertilizes the female structure called polar nuclear. So dalawa po yung nire-release na ng pollen grain, dalawang sperm. Okay? Isang sperm para ma-fertilize yung egg cell at yung second sperm para ma-fertilize yung female structure called polar nuclei. Okay? Ito po yung pollen grain. Pag dumikit po siya sa pollen sa dito, stigma, stamen pala, sorry. So, developing pollen tube, papasok po dyan, magre-release ng yung pollen tube ng dalawang sperm cells at papasok po dyan. Okay? Isa po doon para ma-fertilize yung polar nuclei at yung isang egg nucleus. So, dalawa po siya. Dalawang sperm po yung nire-release ng isang pollen grain. Okay, next is fertilization. The union of the first sperm with the egg cell produces a plant zygote, which becomes the plant embryo. Okay, the union of the second sperm with the polar nuclear produces the endosperm, that the food storage tissue around the embryo. It's also formed as an outer coat that protects the new seed. Kung baga, dalawa yung sperm. Yung ang purpose ng isang fertilization ng nuclei ay for food. Okay? So, yung polar nuclei at saka yung egg nucleus ay kinakailangan ng isang sperm. So, kapag na-fertilize na yan, yung polar nuclei, ito po yung magko-cover sa doon sa seed or doon sa mismong fertilized na egg cell. At yun yung magsisilbing pagkain noong seed. Okay. Okay. How fertilization occur? Okay. Okay, only flowering plants form seeds through double fertilization. Fertilization happens when one sperm cell of the pollen grain fertilizes an egg cell, while the other cell combines with a cell called endosperm. So, hindi siya katulad ng ibang mga organism. So, yung plant, yung doon lang sa dalawang fertilization na yun, sa double fertilization na yun, makaka-form po ng madaming seeds. Okay? Hindi siya katulad ng sa mammals or sa animals. Dun sa mga mammals na isa lang yung kanilang offspring. Dito, nakaka-produce sila ng madaming seeds. Doon lang sa dalawang fertilization na yon. Okay, this is the endosperm and embryo. Ito yung sa polar nuclei. Okay? Ito naman yung sa isa. Okay? Polar nuclei, ito naman yung sa balikan nga natin para mas maintindihan. Okay, ito po yung sa polar nuclei at nucleus. Okay, yung endosperm po, yung polar nuclei. Ito po yung isang na-fertilize. At ito naman po yung nucleus. Okay? Yung mismong embryo. Kumbaga ito yung magsisilbing pagkain niya. And dahil doon sa dalawang fertilization na yon, marami pong seed yung nagagawa ng isang flower. So two kinds of pollination. We have self-pollination and cross-pollination. So ano po yung self-pollination? So when we say self-pollination, it occurs when the pollen is transferred from the stamen of one flower to the pistil of the same flower. Kumbaga isang ano lang siya, isang puno. And yung puno na yun maraming flowers. Kumbaga nagpapalitan lang sila ng pollen grain. Yun po yung tinatawag natin self-pollination. Isang tree lang po na maraming flowers at nagpapalitan ng pollen grain. Next is cross-pollination. Ito naman yung cross-pollination occur when pollen grains are transferred to a flower from a different plant. So, dalawang plant na po yung involved dito. Kung self-pollination, isang plant lang yun at maraming flower. Ito naman, dalawang plant siya na magkaiba yung flowers at nag-exchange sila ng pollen grain. So pollen grain is transferred from the anther of one flower to the stigma of another flower of the same kind. Siyempre, yung dalawang plant na yun ay magkatulad lang or same species lang. Tinatawag natin cross-pollination. Same species lang po siya. Okay, this is self-pollination. How pollen is transferred? Napapa-F ako dun sa letter P, sorry po. How pollen is transferred. There are many agents of pollination. Bees, butterflies, dragonflies, and other insects may carry the pollen grains on their feet. As they flutter from flower to flower, the pollen grains may be transferred from their feet to the tip of the stem. Okay, so this is pollination. So, ang magiging agent ng pollination, pwedeng insects, pwedeng humans, or wind, water, para mapunta yung nirelease nito na pollen grain. Okay? Papunta dito sa stamen at ma-fertilize yung ovule. So, how pollen is transferred? Water, it may also transfer pollen grains from anthers of a flower to its own stigma or to the stigmas of another flower of the same kind. Wind, it also carries pollen grains. Wind may blow the protein grains and they may fall on the stigma of the pistil. Okay, people can be also agents of pollination. By touching different flowers, they may transfer pollen grains from the anther of the stigma to the style of a pistil. Okay, so ito po yung ripe or fully matured na ovary. Ito po yung kinakain natin, prutas. Yung mga seeds na po yan po yung zygote o yung embryo. Okay, yung seed na yan, it contains embryo and endosperm. Okay, what is fruit? A fruit is an enlarged ovary that may contain seeds. You may have noticed that most fruits have seeds. Okay, seeds there are formed inside the ovary. As the seed gets larger, the ovary gets larger too. And the ovary becomes the fruit and protects the seeds. Fruits are formed according to the structure of their flower. So may ibang structure ng ovary. Kaya may iba-ibang klase ng prutas. Diba? Structure of the seed and embryo. Plants with seed reproduce sexually. And the seed, which is the ripened ovule, consists of the seed coat, the embryo, and endosperm. So part of corn embryo. So this is the endosperm. This is the embryo. And this is cotyledon, epicotyl, and hypocotyl. And this is radicle and coleorhiza. This is the longitudinal section. Correct me if I'm wrong, if I mispronounce the word. Okay. The tough protective seed coat develops from the wall of the ovule. On the outside of the seed, there is a scar called the hilum, which marks the attachment of the ovule to the ovary. The ovary develops from the fertilized egg. The endosperm is a food storage tissue that develops from the endosperm nucleus. The nutrients stored in the endosperm cells are obtained from the parent plant. Okay, so yun yung protective part ng fertilized egg. Okay? O yung seed, yung kanyang seed coat at saka yung endosperm. Okay, this is the outer seed parts. This is the seed coat, this is the helium. So seed coat protects seed from damage or disease or insects. This is the plant embryo. The plant embryo consists of one or two cotyledons. First is the epicotyl, the hypocotyl, and the radicle. So cotyledons are modified leaves. Plants with one cotyledon are called monocots, and those with two cotyledons are called dicots. So this is parts of beans embryo. This is epicotyl. This is plumule, hypocotyl. Okay, this is radicle. These are cotyledons and seed coats. Okay, this is part of the embryo. The part of the embryo above the point of attachment of the cotyledon is called the epicotyl. Epicotyl pala, sorry. Okay, the hypocotyl is the part of the embryo below the point of attachment of the cotyledons, and the radicle is the lowermost part of the hypocotyl. Okay, ito po yung epicotyl, hypocotyl, and radicle. So yung radicle yung parang nasisilbing roots niya. Yung hypocotyl yung nagsisilbing stem, and epicotyl at plumule, ito yung nagsisilbing leaves niya, yung young leaves. Okay, in some plants, the hypocotyl forms the lower part of the stem, while the radicle forms the roots. In other plants, the hypocotyl forms the lower part of the epicotyl, and the roots arise from both the hypocotyl and the radicle. Okay, ito po yung cotyledon, epicotyl, hypocotyl, radicle. So ito po yung radicle, ito po yung nagsisilbing roots niya. Once na expose siya sa sunlight, sa water, sa soil, yan. Diyan po nagsisimulang mag-grow. At ito yung itong radicle, ito po yung nagsisilbing roots niya. Okay, beans. Beans are dicots, and in the bean seed, the two large cotyledon enclose the rest of the embryo between them. Okay, corn is a monocot. Each kernel is composed complete fruit and contains one seed. In the developing corn seedling, the epicotyl forms the stem and leaves, while the hypocotyl and radicle form the roots. Okay, so seed dispersal. Okay, seed dispersal refers to the process by which seeds are scattered, moved, or transported away from the parent plant to a much wider area. So since na-develop na yung seeds, so ready for dispersal na siya para tumubo na siya or mag-germinate na po siya sa ibang places na malayo doon sa parent plant para hindi sila mag-compete. Okay, this is done by plants to prevent overcrowding of the same plants in a specific area. So para walang overcrowding tsaka competition. Kasi kapag dikit-dikit po sila, yung nutrients na galing doon sa soils ay nagko-compete sila. Diba? During this time, the seed stops doing any type of activity or the dormant stage. These are the way seeds are dispersed. Okay? These are the ways pwedeng kinain ng ibon. Tapos, pag nung nag-poops yung ibon sa other places, yun, dun siya tutubo. Okay? Yung may mga hairy or tails, yan. Ito yung nakakatulong sa kanila para lumipad sa air at mapadpad sa ibang lugar. Okay? Katulad ng dandelion. Okay, thank you for listening. Ay, meron pa palang isa. Okay, sige, puputulin ko na dito ang discussion natin. So, in this discussion, I just discuss, okay, discuss lang ako ng about sa parts of the flower and about seeds. So, thanks for listening. Bye-bye.